Yes.
Your book won't get there till tomorrow, according to, I tracked it yesterday, and I
Yeah.
sent it the 3-day express mail. I
I
could
hope you
have
get a refund.
pardon me?
I hope you get a refund.
Oh, no, like, you know what? Your book will get there tomorrow. As long as you get the book, it's a signed copy, so it's something.
But they're
Um,
they're cagey that way now because they say, well, if we don't, you can pay for it, but we don't guarantee delivery. What kind of crap is that? It's like, okay,
Amazon,
it's
yeah,
like you can order a steak dinner and they come back to the table and say, well, you have to pay us. Well, I didn't get my steak dinner. You said, well, we ran out of steak, but you have to pay because you made a reservation.
yeah. I just noticed that with Amazon, with whatever they say, if they say order within 10 minutes and you'll get it tomorrow by 4 p.m., it never comes for another couple days. It's always changing delivery.
It's too bad they've stepped away from their DNA. It's what made them successful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's talk about some logic here. I got to
Okay.
get the now that I cannot see me again, and when I can see the two of us, then I can see his book, and I really do need his book up there
book
so I
is
can
up on
refer
the
to the
screen.
now.
I mean, you can't see the book from here.
Now I
The
can.
book is
Now
up on the
yeah.
Now, what just changed? Because now I can see both of you. I mean, I can see the two of us. Excuse me.
I think if you're using
And I
that,
can see the
that
book.
backdrop,
There we
when
go
you
again.
lean back, it kind of cuts. It probably cuts you out. That's probably why you're not seeing you.
I can see everything now that I should see. Yep.
So what I'm going to do is instead of counting you down, you'll just hear your theme song, and then after the
Okay.
theme song, you're good to go.
All right.
All right, give me just.
And now, the most trusted name in radio, serving the Treasure Coast for over 30 years, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
Okay, we have we have Rick Breitweiser. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Rick?
Breitweiser I've gone by, but yeah, anything, it's Breitweiser.
Breitweiser, okay. And you have many books. I can see some of them behind you. I Didn't Ask to Be Me, and some others that you've been publishing for many years. You're 7 years sober. You're a successful entrepreneur. Did well enough that you could retire fairly young. And how did you get sober 7 years ago? And how long was your addiction to alcohol? Was it, in fact, alcohol?
No, it actually wasn't alcohol. My drug of choice came from, let's say, South America, namely Colombia. Okay, and that was because of the times. This is not my first go around, so to speak. I had a problem when I was in my 20s. When 20s for me was in the 80s, and back then it was my drug of choice was the hot thing. I mean, I hung out in nightclubs in New York City with famous people. I was really in it for the social high. I wanted to be one of those people. It was almost a tool back then. And that lasted for 10 years. And at the age of 30, I stopped. On my own, by the way. I got a little bit of insight, a little bit of help, and a little push by family members, but mostly on my own. I moved away, and I bought a farm, and I got away from the whole scene, that whole New York scene that was really poison for me. And then I sold my business. I bought a house in another country, and after 16 years of being clean, I tried my drug of choice again, and it lasted 7 years. And again, I tried to stop on my own, Rhett, and I just I didn't have the tools. I didn't have all the information to stay stopped. So I stopped again, but I was miserable. I went for help in Atlanta. Went to a treatment center, the biggest in the state. I stayed for 90 days. I felt like I was really learning a lot. It totally caught my interest, but I needed more. So I stayed 4 years. And I paid attention. I'm a good student, and I tried to remember anything that would help me with my program of recovery. And so now we have 7.5 years. In October, it'll be 8 years.
Now, hold on a second. I was trying to find the cover of your book because I can only see you, and it causes me to. Yeah, there we go. We got to get Doolin. If we can get back to where I can see both the pictures and the title of the book, it would help me out. I don't know what is being done that's happening lately, but
see it on the
see if we can get the
screen
both of them. But addiction logic using simple psychology when overcoming substance abuse and unhealthy obsessions. So now, where were you for these 4 years?
I was in Atlanta. I was at a treatment center. Mainly, it was a treatment center that my brother picked out because I came from the airplane industry, and that was right where Delta camped. Where this place was right by the Delta the Delta headquarters. So
Yeah.
it was for logically, my brother said, "This is great. You can go where there's airplane people," and that's what I did. And I stayed 4 years.
4 years is a long time.
I didn't stay in the treat. What it was, Rhett, is that I stayed for a 90-day program. When that was up, my brother said, "You sound great over the phone," back in Jersey, where I come from. He said, "Why don't you stay a little longer?" And I stayed for another 90, but I got my own apartment down there, and I got some opportunities, let's say, to improve my my knowledge of recovery. I just really got into it. I got I caught the bug, and I went to school. I got a scholarship. I went to school to become actually to get a degree in addiction, which I did from the Georgia Council on Substance.
Really? That's congratulations.
Yeah, I really was. And then COVID came along, so I was never able to use it at the time. I also went every week to become a counselor, to be a CAC. And so that the whole COVID thing slowed down my whole, I guess, my newfound career of possibly helping people on the clinical side, But I became the president of the alumni at the treatment center, 6,600 people. They voted me president because of my my excitable way about recovery and about helping people. And I stayed until I couldn't stand the traffic any longer in Atlanta. And I said, I'm either going north or south, and here I am in Florida.
I was in a recovery center just last night. I volunteer to help young people. And what concerns me is I was at a meeting there last week, and maybe 50% of the people that were there last week are there this week. So they bring them in. I have no idea what they pay. I know these centers are usually, as much as $5,000 a week or at least $10,000 a month. And so I don't know if a week is really long enough. You said you spent a lot of time there and jumped right into giving. And I'm concerned for these young people because last night in a circle in a room, there was many that had one fella next to me. His name was Basil, a nice young man, Irish guy. He had 4 days. Had somebody else had 9 days, someone else had 30 days. But, it is really a week or even a month at one of these centers really enough to get people over the hurdle, to the other side of the mountain,
Well, you know what? I am a member of a 12-step program, and I've been going to 2 to 3 meetings a day, every day for 7.5 years. I have over 3,000 meetings under my belt, and so I consider myself an old timer at that. With the age, I'm up there too. But the thing is that I am retired, and I have the time to do what other people can't do by getting going to so many meetings and listening. Once in a while I get lucky and I hear something new and I add it to my notes, and and I try to hold on to it. But you know what? A couple of days is not enough. If we're talking about an alcohol or a substance program, those programs, they are there to help you not to start again. They're not there to help you stop. They can't do that. You have to help yourself to stop. If you're willing and you want to change your life and you make that commitment in your head to you're going to stop, the program will give you all the tools and all the insights to stay stopped. And that's the goal, is so that you can take the training wheels off the bike someday And the training wheels are the either the center or the program or whatever it is. And then you're on your own, but you can always look back on what you learned, and you can do it without training wheels. That's what that's what these programs try to do. They try to get it so you can survive in the real world on your own, and and have enough wherewithal not to ever pick up again, as they say in the program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your book just won an award recently. Tell us about that.
Well, you know what it is. This is strange. It took me 4 years to write this book, Rhett. And when I got done, I spent a lot of time writing and researching. There's a lot of research in there. There's 62 pages of citations and endnotes in there and bibliography. So I wanted to get it right. And not everything in this book is clinical. A lot of it is theoretical. There's 25 stories in the book. People I interviewed, probably 50 people, and I chose 25 stories of their experiences. See, since the book is about all kinds of addictions, whether it's a book on whether you have a problem with caffeine, or you have a problem with coffee, cake, sugar, eating disorders, body dysmorphia, tattoos, tanning. These are all things that can possibly reach the level of addiction. So I wanted to get it right. I spent time. I produced a 465-page book. I sent it in. I sent it into a contest, which was a kind of expensive $500 entry fee, but I thought it was good enough, and I might use the accolades to help launch this book. And when I didn't win, it came back in November, and I said, "Where's my award?" And I called them, and they said, "You didn't win." And I said, "But I want to win." I said, I did so much work on this. And they told me, "Well, you know what? They didn't like your cover. This is not the original cover, Rhett. This cover is the third cover." So what I did is I hired beta readers, and the beta readers told me, they cut me up and ripped me apart and gave me some good advice. And I rewrote the book. I eliminated 8 chapters. I shortened the book. I took their advice, and I put out this book again, and it came back as a second place winner out of thousands of books. And I'm really super proud of it. I took the advice of the beta readers, which is something I've never done before. Like, I'm a new writer. I mean, this is now I'm on my 4th book, by the way, and it's a learning experience. Every book is a learning experience. So anybody that is out there, that wants to write a book, because there's so many people that tell me they have a book in their head. But you know what? Writing the book is the easiest part. It is the absolute easiest part. To come is so difficult with editing and proofreading and everything else. That might encompass what you asked me.
Well, I can tell you this, that Debbie Maycomber is a friend of mine, and she sold 240 million copies of her books, and top 18 #1 New York Times. And as you said, she told me that her books are read by her no less than 10 times in their entirety each prior to that.
Well, can I just say something? Is that I like I said, every book is a learning experience for me, Rhett. And you know what I found is I paid 2 people for my first and my second book to sit in my place with the microphone. I bought the whole setup for them, because I am not a great reader, and I can't read a whole book without making mistakes. So I paid 2 people to do that, and then I used to listen to them in the car. And I'd say, "Oh, that doesn't sound right. Oh, I definitely don't want that word in there." And I sat everywhere I went with a notepad on my, passenger seat, making notes. Then I found Speechify. Well, I found Speechify, and you know what? I downloaded my manuscript into it, and I walk 6 miles every day. I've listened to my book before going to print at least 30 times, 5 hours and 40 minutes, 30 times, with a piece of paper in my pocket to make notes and say, "Oops, I think I can get a better word there." A little bit OCD, wouldn't you say? And that's in the book too.
Well, I tell you what, as they say, I was talking to Rick Frischman, from Planned Television Arts, and he booked a lot of very famous authors on my show for 30 years. He's now sold the business in New York City, but he said, Rhett, when you write your book, he said, spend 50% of your time writing the book. Spend the other 50% of the time coming up with the title and the cover, because it's the cover and the title that's going to sell the book.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of Jack Canfield's, and I know you've had him on your show before. I used to buy books on tape back in the 80s when I was a young salesman, and I would listen to Jack as a motivational speaker, not as the author that he's become, but he was a motivational speaker, and I'd listen every ride that I was on. And you know what? He said that the cover, I think he said the back cover, the front cover, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a table of contents, was like 80% of what sells the book. The cover, the front, and the description, that little bit that little thing in the back that somebody picks up and reads and says, this is for me.
And I've noticed that your covers are very well done.
I have a guy that I met online. His name is Kostas, and he's from Greece. And he is, he's been so good to me. And I would never use anybody else. Anybody that picks up my book will see his name in there, but his name is Kostas, and you can contact me. After this is all said and done, if there is an area for me to leave my contact information, I will gladly forward any writers, or he's an artist, by trade, but he just understands book covers too. Thank you.
Yeah, very well done. Now, so let's go now. So you say that you worked in this recovery center for many, many years. You were yourself recovered for 7 years. And so tell me something. Why this is called addiction logic.
Right.
Now, it sounds to me, when I was reading this, it sounds like, well, you don't really believe in a higher power. You believe more that man is sort of his own God, or his logic is his own God, or his intellect is his own God.
Well, you know what? I had the hardest time when I entered the program of recovery. They want you to get a higher power. There's certain criteria they believe is the only way to make it. And I wasn't against the term higher power. Higher power is just a term. And I wasn't against the word God, because it's just a word that is understood around the world. What I did is I'm such a realist, Rhett, is that if I can't see something, I can't touch something, I can't believe in something. But you know what? The thing is that somebody in the program, a young guy who had been in and out so many times, like you said, they come and they go. This guy had a wealthy grandfather that paid for him to go as many times as he wants. And I said to him, I said, can you help me get a higher power? I'll even pay you. And he says, did you make you? And I said, no. He said, did you make me? I said, no. He said, look around you, look out the window. Did you make anything out there? I said, no, I didn't. He says, do you think something created all of us? And I said, well, I'm undeniably here. And then you know what I did is I said, you know what? I started to gravitate towards a creator of all things. And, I went to church till I was 22 years old because my mother said there was 3 rules in the house: no tattoos, no earrings, in church every Sunday, otherwise find a place to live. My mother went to church every day. And you know what? I can't say that I paid attention, but I remember everything word for word. We believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, all that is seen and unseen. That was something that was very, very vital to my recovery, because now I don't have to see this creator. He's the creator of the universe. And in my book, I write, you know what? We don't plant wooden ships. God didn't plant wooden ships. He planted trees for us to build. He put iron ore in the ground for us to excavate and make cars and metal things out of. So God gave me, or my creator gave me, all this God-given ability. Everything that I have is all in. I have the red slippers on. I've had them since I was born. I just had to find a way to utilize them and grow into them. So that's my theory on that. And I'm very, very happy and settled on it too.
Well, that's good. So tell us some more about your book.
Okay, so when I came up with the title, Addiction Logic, I kept hearing people say, you know what, logic doesn't work in recovery. Logic doesn't work, and I thought that was really a hard line untruth. And I said, geez, it seems to me like everything involves some kind of logic, some kind of I guess some kind of intuition, some insightfulness. And so I wanted to take a different tact, Rhett. I wanted to say that there's a way to look deeply into something, get logically to the root of what causes the problems that we have with addiction, and then work from the bottom up. I can give you examples, but basically, I wanted this book to be a totally relatable, logically written, not to lose anybody. I don't want to overwhelm or lose anybody. I want people to stay like I'm right there in front of them all the time. So I use logic, and I also said that, you know what, there's so many things in this world that are tied to the substance abuse and alcoholism. And I said, gambling it basically could be a spinoff of that. We could have gambling problems be due to our drinking. Yeah. So I wanted to tie it all together, and I wanted to cover anything that I thought was habitual, even passion, even people have passions for things that, you don't have to be an addict for this book. You could just be, you could have a habit you want to break. You could be overly obsessed with something, and overly anything is not balanced. So I wanted to make sure that people that eat too much cake, that are watching their weight, let's just say, if they're watching their weight and they want to lose some weight, I say, well, maybe stay away from the cake table. I go to these 12-step meetings, and they have a big table with the greatest chocolate chip cookies and stuff. And I just vowed just to stay away from that table, and I'm better off for it. That would be the simplest logical solution for me. Stay away from the cookies and the cake, and every time they celebrate, you can't have a piece.
Well, it's easy. I mean, it's easy to talk of discipline. Of course, a lot of people pay a lot of money for discipline. I have a friend of mine who was 400 pounds. He's now under 300 pounds. And it was maybe 15 years ago that he got the surgery, that bypass surgery. He went back, he lost a lot of weight, then he gained a bunch back. But now I guess it's helped him that he doesn't eat as much, but he's also gone your way, and that he's somehow disciplined himself finally. Me, being fat does not run in my family lineage. I'm probably the fattest guy. I'm probably 60 to 75 pounds overweight of what I should be. Let's see, about 75, yeah. And I guess during different episodes in my life, somehow I found I could comfort myself with food and sort of fell into this pit. But I personally, I hope I would never, ever try to pay a doctor to somehow cut discipline into me, because I think we need to learn these disciplines as, the disciple disciplines. I mean, Jesus demanded, he didn't say, I'm going to, I can breathe right now, God could just go and give me genius knowledge like an idiot savant. Yet he lets us struggle because we forage around and we find solutions. Weak people give up, and they say, well, this is the way it is, and actually in the Bible it says God disdains the timid soul. If you notice, weak people never really get that far ahead in life because they give in, to whatever the situation may be, and don't have the strength of character to move forward and learn from that. And and actually, I think sometimes those who go through more struggles actually have more favor with God, But that's my own opinion. But we're ending up at the same place, It's I know psychologically that I used to love potatoes, And once in a while, I can still enjoy some mashed potatoes, but I do not eat French fries out. I mean, I put one in my mouth and I don't even finish it. It's just like, woo, because psychologically, I probably could do that with ice cream too, but then I might as well die. But but you're right. To discipline the mind is a good thing that you're doing. It's look at Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he didn't get a degree, but he sure learned a lot on his own, didn't he?
He was driven. And, like I wrote in my first book, I Didn't Ask to Be Me. You talk about the weak person. It's not that person's fault. That person was born that way. And you know what? Not everybody can be the boss. Some people have to be the workers. So I don't look at it as a bad thing. It's just that everybody has a part to play on this planet, and everybody has something to contribute. So I would just mention my first book, which that was the start of it all. Is everybody told me to write a book because I've had such an incredible life, and I said, listen, I have an incredible life, but I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask. Look, nobody gave me a form to fill out before I got here. Nobody said, hey, would you want to look? Would you? How about we make you 6'2"? How about we give you blue eyes? Do you want to be an athlete? Do you want to be a scholar? Do you want to be smart? I never got that form to fill out. I just arrived and I looked in my box and I said, you know what? I can work with this. I can work what's in my bag or my box or whatever. And I also had the fortitude and the motivational character in me for that drive. But not everybody gets. Look, that's why we are considered individuals. We're individually designed and individually delivered. So I understand all of what you're saying. I totally understand. All we can do is make the best of what we have. And if you fall short, in the program they talk about shortcomings. And I believe that your shortcomings are not using what God gave you. If I was given the physical ability to jump 40-inch vertical jump and I only jump 36, well, you know what? I owe God 4 inches.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that because, like for instance, some people are really good at math, and I just definitely don't have a proclivity for math, nor do I like it. You remember Tommy Lasorda, the famous? Okay, so I first moved to Vero Beach, and he would spend half of the year there with the LA Dodgers. So the biggest thing in the world was, I don't know why, he was probably one of the 10 most famous faces in the world. I don't know if it was for the Dodgers or because he was selling Slim Fast. But anyway, I finally got to interview him. And I remember specifically my very first interview, the game had ended. We're out there somewhere near the pitcher's mound, and I've got my microphone. I'm nervous as can be. And he said, listen, I forget how I didn't know anything about baseball. So I'm faking this whole thing. We became better friends later in life. We had lunches together. The last time he was in town, he was over at his golf course. He's waving to me. Had no idea all these years I knew nothing about baseball, but I would go to the philosophical point, and because he was a great motivator. And so, people will follow wherever you go down the river. So anyways, but he said, if you don't like what you're doing, he said, get out. He said, because you're doing a disservice to yourself and to everyone else. In other words, for instance, if I say, hey, Rick, great, I like your book, but I also I need somebody to come here to Florida, and I'll pay you $1 million a week to become a chef. Well, I don't want to be a chef, right? Well, I'll give you $1 million a week. Okay. I mean, if there's no love in it, you're going to make really lousy food. Matter of fact, my opinion is that the reason people like me have gotten overweight, I think a crime has been perpetrated upon the American people with these different fats, which they made illegal in New York City because of greed. They've addicted us to sugar through our foods. They've addicted us to carbs. You look back at a video of America's home videos, America's favorite home videos, and I was watching that, and I was like, all of a sudden, for some reason, they played an old show, and they panned the audience and went, there's not one fat person in the audience. And then I remember when I was in grade school, there was this kid named David Schreck. Now, if he's still alive and he hears about this, I'm sorry if I hurt his feelings, but it'd be great if you do hear this, David Schreck, contact me. I'd love to find out what you did with your life. He's most likely not alive, but he was the big fat kid, you know? And, he had, my grandfather, I thought he was fat. I look at pictures now and I was as thin as he was. So the point being, I believe a crime is perpetrated, but when you make food for money, i.e. McDonald's, there's no love in that food. They can go buy a recipe and it can taste fairly good. It's okay. It's really gone down. I don't know if it's my age or what it is, but in particular, they've gone downhill. I mean, I used to sneak a burger now and then. I see Donald Trump. Now I see him on his jet now, and he's always eating either a quarter pounder or a Big Mac. So recently I went to get a quarter pounder with cheese, right? And I sat there in my car. I took a bite. I took 3 bites and I said, it cost like $7. Those things are expensive. Now I said, why are you going to eat this? I put it in the bag. I said, take it as a lesson, and I threw it out. It's just, I don't know, their stuff, even their fillet of fish is just, I don't know, maybe I'm cultivating a better palate, or they're putting more. But anyway, the bottom line, I'm going off on all this crazy, stupid stuff. The point is that, like, you have a love for writing these books now, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And it shows. Because I've been getting books for 32 years from self-published people as well as published people. The good thing about that was they had to go through the process of getting an agent and getting a manager, and then they would go to a Simon & Schuster and they would get approved. And then it was going to be a good font. It was going to be a good cover. It was going to look good. 99% of self-published books look self-published. It's helped a little. Your books, I can tell you this now, and we've never had this conversation. I'm a marketing guy. I ran an advertising firm, in upstate New York. I knew immediately, I said, this guy knows what he's doing, because the covers of your books, they had me right from the first time I saw them. And so I'm counting on you. I've written 7 books. I've not put any of them out because I'm too egotistical to thinking that, they've got to be perfected. But I can tell you the guy that I'm going to run to help me do my cover, it's going to be you and the guy that's helping you.
I will turn you on to him, I think. And the guy is so fair with me. Anytime I'm at, even the inner artwork that's in the book, I would give him what I was using. And then I'd tell him, I said, I don't like what I'm using. And then he would come back with something like this. Never charge me anything. He says, Rick, we're friends.
He has a gift.
We're friends.
Yeah.
Said, we become friends over 5 years, Rhett, and that's one thing that I can appreciate is that the process, like you were saying, we have to go through. Some people have to go through the pain and everything. I can tell you, I went through a monetary pain. This whole the process of people don't realize that it's not cheap to put out a book. But once I find a cover guy, like I have a website designer. He is redoing my site right now as we speak. After 5 years, I'm going to have a new website. I'm supposed to look at something soon. And I am real product loyal. If you're in marketing, then you understand product loyalty. And
yes.
That product just happens to be the talent of these people that I use too. We can't discount that just because it's not my second book is Sales and Selling Yourself. And sales and you're selling yourself. I am the product before I pull any product through the door opening, I come through that door first. So, so I can appreciate all what you're saying. It's,
I got another idea for you. I'm an idea guy. I kind of hope that we become friends, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I'm not logical. I have, matter of fact, I'm almost, they say people are highly gifted in certain areas, and it seems as though I am, according to others, but I'm very deficit. I'm almost retarded when it comes to organizational skills. And really, if you want to succeed in life, it's better to have organizational skills, I think, because if you own a car dealership, it's an organization, okay? If you become a book publisher, it's an organization. If you become a politician, you create an organization. A guy like me who's out here, I got lots of creative ideas. I can come up with, you can ask my wife. I mean, I literally can come up with 15 to 12 different ideas for very successful businesses every day. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here already and I said, you know what I'd like this guy to write? You? I've been watching Lincoln, PBS. I don't know PBS. I don't know if it's an old one. It sure seems new. It's on not Netflix. It's on the other one, Prime. So I watched Teddy Roosevelt a week ago and got addicted to that. And after 5 or 6 days, then I went to Lincoln. I wasn't going to watch Lincoln. I've been to Gettysburg 10 times in my life. I've seen all the movies, the Spielberg movie. I even have Doris Kearns Goodwin, the famous historian on my show a number of times. Oh, I don't want to see another movie about Lincoln. I said, well, I'll give it a second. Thank God I did. It's the best I've ever seen of Lincoln. And the guy who plays him, Doris Kearns Goodwin, pops in as a consultant, and some other people in the show, obviously some black people who are reflecting on the whole slave thing, and it was just wonderful. But one thing Lincoln did, which amazes me, I've had a problem with people working for me because when I was younger, I thought I had to act bossy to be a boss. And I found out that life is a lot easier if I put the person above the job. In other words, like Doolin Dalton is working with us now doing the production today. Now I had a guy working with us for about 10 years, and we got along initially, and then when there was a conflict for about 9 of those years, it just didn't feel comfortable. And I saw my friend come in. I have a lifelong friend, and he came in from New York and spent the winter, and he immediately was friends with the guy. And I thought, what am I doing wrong? Well, I realized life, from this perspective, I would call a doctor's office, let's say, or I'm going to call General Colin Powell. Here's a true story. So I called General Colin Powell. Now, instead of going, hi, I'm Rhett Palmer, and I've been on the radio for 20 years, and I deserve to talk to can you put the general on the phone? I want to interview him about his new book. No, that doesn't work. But I call up and I say, oh, hi, how are you? But it's got to be sincere because people know it. And it is sincere now. I've learned later in life, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, I'm not really impressed with titles. Now, I have a benefit that others have been not. Remember, I've interviewed President Carter, President Ford, Jeb Bush, met the Bushes many times, all these big people. And I realized, you know what? I'm just not impressed anymore with somebody's pocketbook, particularly a title. I can find as much love and admiration for a toothless guy sitting underneath a palm tree. And if you sit there long enough, he's going to tell you something you don't know. Right now, you know things that I will never know in this lifetime. But I also know things you'll never know. So we can benefit from that exchange. So when I call up General Colin Powell's office, I don't want to use the lady who answers the phone. I want to say, hi, I'm Rhett. What's your name? Oh, I'm Shirley. Where are you from? Shirley, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So then I get to this big convention center, and there's this lady there. She's got guns, and she's got walkie-talkies and all this stuff on, and she's got lights that are going off on her headband. And I don't know, all kinds. So I said, well, I'm here to see the general. And she says, nobody's getting in to see the general today, and he had a speaking thing there. So anyway, so I'm wandering around. I'm going, gosh, maybe I should just leave. That old scared me. I was a very shy, painfully shy kid. And so, well, maybe I should leave. But I didn't leave. And all of a sudden, this lady with the walkie-talkies and the guns, she comes running up. She puts her arm under my arm and says, we have an appointment with General Colin Powell. And so what had happened is the secretary had spoken to her, and I had favor with the secretary because we made a real alliance, a friendship. And as you call, and in your business, I'm sure as a salesman, you call them the gatekeepers. If you're not friendly with the gatekeepers, it's just you can call for a reservation at a restaurant now and go, oh, hi, I'm Mr. Important and I'd like to have an ocean view. Or you can call up and have fun and say, hey, how are you? Where are you from? You sound like you have a Jamaican accent. Talking about, by the way, we'd like to come into dinner tonight and get an ocean view. Oh, no, they're all sold out. She said, wait a second. I think we had one that opened up earlier. Let me check. Because we became, I'm not saying to manipulate. It's got to come from a place of sincerity because people can sniff out manipulation. It's just like with God. I pray to God. I say, God, I'd like this to happen, but I want to manipulate you, but I don't want to manipulate you. I love you. You love me. You chose me. So how can we work this out that you'll be pleased and that I'll get favor because of that, not because I can manipulate him? In other words, a friendship's got to be sincere. Like, for instance, if we have a friendship, it would be nice if I was able to give you more than you give me. I was with those kids last night at that recovery center, and I know you probably know this because you work with these kind of people. At the end of my little speech to them, I said, I love you all, and I want you to make it. And I can't explain the birthing of that, but I honestly love them and have learned the joy in my life, if I can get there. I'm not saying I always get there, but is to serve others above self. Who's happier? Even Jesus said, the greatest among you will be the servant of the others, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'm kind of, you see, you're a logical guy, right?
Oh, for sure.
This should be a lesson to you. See, I'm the talk host, and I'm taking us down these rabbit holes, and you're sitting there, and you're being very kind, you're being very mannerly, but I bet you would do this in a whole different way, right?
I'm actually practicing listening. I am actually absorbing things. Some of the things you're saying I can relate to very closely. I mean, some of the things like you were talking about, like in the beginning when you said, you know what, I don't want to do this job. I don't want to. I know that this job pays so well, but I don't want to do it. I can understand. My parents wanted me to be a dentist. I went to college to be a dentist. I dropped out of school because I didn't want to be a dentist. In the end, you know what? I became a salesman, and I was the shyest guy on the planet. I didn't have my ex-girlfriend. Let me just tell you, my ex-girlfriend's father started TJ Maxx. And he's the founder. And I always got along great with the family. I still talk to her once in a while, but we're still friends. And she said to me, Ricky Breitweiser, you're the most confident, unconfident person I've ever met in my life. It's not, it's not for show. It's not for show. I don't, because I believe in, like you said, genuineness and sincerity. If it's not as a salesman that I became the best salesman in the entire country in the industry of selling Gulfstream jet parts. And it was a matter.
Hold on. You're not going to believe this. I'm in a rented home right now in Vermont. And you know what? The guy who owns all these houses, he's become a friend, and he sells private jets.
Okay, well, that was an industry that I didn't even, you know what? I answered an ad for a company putting away airplane parts. I had a photographic memory, so I memorized every part they had in their warehouse. 20 or 30,000 parts, 20,000 parts.
They had in the warehouse.
Yeah, and I worked my way. I was younger. I just got out of college after making my parents unhappy that I needed to get a job. But anyway, it led to me where I wound up starting my own business, and I sold it to my youngest brother, who is a workaholic. He's in the book too as a workaholic. By the way, people that have problems with shopping and working, they're in the book. And the workaholic brother that I have, I will say he's the most successful person I've ever met in my life face to face. He's 9 years younger than me. Let's just say, well, he's got the largest Gulfstream parts company in the world now. There is nobody. The Gulfstream and Honeywell, we are their exclusive distributors of every Gulfstream part they sell.
I used to sing for Honeywell Corporation. I used to sing positive thinking songs when I was in my 20s that I wrote. And Honeywell was one of my customers. I did a jingle for them.
They're very big. They're very diverse too, but they make all the avionics. They make all the pressurization, all the control system parts for the Gulfstream jet. And but my brother took over the business from me, and it was a good time because I was having problems with substance abuse. So he relieved me of the business, and the company. Let's just say they're almost $1 billion company today.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And that's all because of my brother's workaholism. But you know what? He's driven. He's totally driven. He loves it. And it's not about the money. It's about the level. It's about the good feeling of success, not the amount of money that he gets from it. Just being recognized as a go-getter, as a smart business person. And here I am. I'm giving credit to some people. Obviously, I managed to squeeze in my web designer, my book cover, and my brother in the same thing. But you know what? It's a small world, Rhett. You
Well,
know
they
what?
better buy dinner next time, kid.
You know what? I get along fabulously with my brother, where there was a time when we didn't get along. And I think writing the books has been an achievement that he has recognized. And my desire, like I write every night. Every night I'm doing something to do with my books. And I think he likes that for me, you know? So anyway, yeah, it's a small world. And you know what? We all share a lot of the same feelings. We'll just never all meet. You know what I mean? So the people we meet, they make impressions on me when I'm in my meetings that I go to. Right now, we're having a conversation. I've never met you before, Rhett. I am comfortable as hell.
Yeah.
I am sitting here. I'm taking sips of my coffee, which is probably if I didn't feel comfortable with the conversation we're having, I don't know if I would have picked up. I would have said, you know what, maybe that doesn't look right for me to sip coffee on this interview. I'm so
Why
grateful
not?
to have it. Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Well, I think that's one of my giftings because I've had famous people, regular moms and dads, authors. They've all said, I don't know why, but I feel comfortable. I think people, even if you go in and you see a guy in jail who's committed murder, and they know within a few minutes, this guy, Rhett Palmer, he's not here. I'm not there to hurt anybody. I'm not there to judge you. I'm there to find out, well, I'd like to know, we can get to the place, find out what happened that you would kill 5 people. Maybe we can stop the next person from letting their emotions rule them and we lose lives. And then here you are going to spend the rest of your life in prison. So if people know right away, you get with a politician and all of a sudden they blossom because they know I'm not a muckraker. Well, I don't even like that. I don't even like muckrakers. I see them on Fox. I see them on CNN. I see them on MSN, all of them. And they get some sort of a thrill. And I think they think that if they're inflammatory, they get better listenership. I'm 71 years of age and I'm still believing, and I've been on the air 32 years, but obviously I'm not world famous. But I believe there might be a time coming up where maybe the right representative will come along and recognize what I have. And I think the American people will like me because I haven't met Trump. Okay. Now, Trump's a character, but I happen to know that my little boy is still alive within me. His little boy is very much alive in him. I was hurt when I was younger. I know he's hurt. I know the reason you throw a pebble at Donald Trump. I'm going to tell him this one day. I'm going to say, I met his daughter, I met his former wife, but you throw a pebble at him, he'll throw a boulder, he'll throw a mountain back at you. But he also is amazing because look at Rubio. They were arch enemies. They first ran. And now he's working. He says, screw the emotions of me being angry with you. We're over that. That's the past. I want you to be my Secretary of State or whatever the situation is. He's amazing that way. He is a very perfect vessel. People want to find fault with him. And I understand. People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. So people have latched on to being vitriolic towards Donald. And, when he did that thing with that guy that was totally wrong. Bad Donald. In the days of old, the king would have one of those, what do you call those funny guys? The Joker?
Jester.
Okay.
Jester.
This is what I picked up on, that the jester was hired by a king. And the jester was impervious. Let's say you hired me as your jester. And I go, you look silly on air today. You didn't wear a tie. You didn't wear a jacket. And by the way, you have bad breath too. Now, king, you're a funny king. And you go, you can't fire me. You can't have my head taken off because I've been given carte blanche. Everybody needs that. I think Donald has a lot of people around him that are yay people. And I think that he thinks he wants yay people. But I tell you what, if you could build a trust, if I could build a trust with Donald, where I could say, now I will say this, he has grown. We've seen a person blossom in these what is it, 18 years now? No, but 4 is 12 years. He's acting much more presidential this time, I think. And people can pick on what happened with Yelinsky, but Yelinsky, he was saying, well, we're playing all these cards. You don't have any more cards to play. And then that's the only time I've ever downgraded my opinion of, is it Yelinsky? Is that his name? The guy who's the president of Ukraine?
Zelensky?
Zelensky, that's it. And is that he didn't have the humility. He barked against that. Oh, I'm not playing a card game. He was being a smartass. You don't do that in someone else's house. I come to your house for dinner. I treat you, this is your territory. I treat you with utter respect. And that's the one where he lost points with me. He went down from a 10 to at least a 7, and he'll never come back up. Probably never, because of the way he reacted to that. He's not a great leader. That's why I was talking about Lincoln before. Lincoln was amazing because he knew how to pick people, like McClellan. McClellan was a great organizer, but he never had the guts to go in and finish the job. He didn't have the guts, but he sure organized everything. Finally, he had to fire McClellan. And then comes this guy, U.S. Grant, Uncle Sam, what's his name? Ulysses S. Grant, which, by the way, was not his real name. The S was a mistake. It was an F, but he took it because they started calling him Uncle Sam. And so it was great later on in life. God had the whole thing planned. This guy is a great leader. But so Lincoln would allow, I guess you might say, would allow his generals the freedom, carte blanche. You're a general. I'm not a war guy. Let's plan this out. And even, they would look at him and say, well, I'm in charge here. You're not in charge. And he'd let them go. But McClellan was weak. He wouldn't attack. Whereas we know Grant went in for the kill, and he was resolute. And you got to see this new documentary. Actually, I'm confusing the two. I watched Lincoln last week. This week, I'm watching Grant, and it's on Prime.
I've seen them. Yeah, I do that. I'm big on documentaries, and I've seen it. They have all the presidents lined up on the screen, so when you're done watching one, you can go to Grant. You can go to I watched the Teddy Roosevelt a couple weeks ago.
Me too. That's what got me back into this.
No, okay.
Fantastic. I never knew. What a great guy. But now, here's what I'd like from you is I would like you to write a book in the future for guys like me, how to work with people. In other words, I always thought I had to be the boss. Well, be friendly, but don't be a friend. And so, and I guess I misconstrued, maybe I wouldn't say arrogance, but I guess I was arrogant without knowing I was being arrogant. And not realizing that the greatest leaders actually serve the people that are under them, right? Or beside them. Like, I don't consider anybody working for me anymore. Doolin Dalton is here today. He's behind the scenes running everything. He doesn't work for me. We work together. Matter of fact, legally, he is a hired, what do you call it, an outside source.
Freelancer?
Yeah, freelancer. And so, which is good. Because then, I don't want to boss anybody. I want what I want. And I want to get, different things taken care of. But, and that's okay since I'm paying the bills. And he wants me to be happy because we get along, But anyway, I've had problems. That's been a, you were shy, you said, when you were young, which amazes me. So was I.
Yeah. Well, mine was, my reason was founded though. I had a tough German father, not from Germany. He thought he was, but he believed in it. But he was a very, very, very tough, strict German. And, he expected so much from him. He expected so much from me, and I could never please him. And I didn't find this out till years later, till my sister Mary's a psychologist, and she only told me since I've been in treatment, since I went for treatment 7.5 years ago, that's when she let me in on it. She said, do you know why you have problems with self-esteem and confidence? Dad was so tough on you being firstborn, you could never please him. Therefore, you could never please yourself. Therefore, you always felt you were never good enough for the rest of the world. So the problem is that and she told me, she said, didn't you realize that when my brother Ron came along, and then my sister Mary came along, and then Chris came along 9 years later, by the time they got to Chris, he never said anything to him. Let Chris run his life. He was so tough with me. I was the prototype, the experiment. he was the new father wanting his kid to be the president someday, or, he'd go to watch me play baseball and he'd say, Rick, he says, you didn't hit any home runs today. I said, Dad, I'm 3 foot tall. I'm the smallest guy on the field. You should be happy that the coach put me in. And so I carried that around my whole entire life. But you know what? I am a survivor and I am motivated. So when the chips are, down, I make sure that I come out on top, no matter what, even if it's uncomfortable.
If there's anybody that could relate to me, it'll be you. Listen to this. My father was an attorney at law, graduated Syracuse. I'm very proud of that. Passed the New York bar the first time. Had a great law firm already going in his early 30s, and was abruptly killed the day before my 5th birthday in a car accident. So my mother met some guy, vice president of IBM, lots of money. He says, marry me, a year later. She said, well, I'm not even over my husband's death and I don't love you. He said, well, you'll learn to love me anyway. So they get married. We move into the house. We belong to the IBM Country Club. We belong to the Duchess Golf and Country Club. We belong to the tennis club. Nobody even played tennis. I mean, there was a lot of dough, but all they did every night was drink, which turned my mother into an alcoholic. She didn't get sober till I was 15. Well, anyway, they would stay in there. I would make TV dinners every night, and this guy would get drunk. And at about 8 o'clock, he'd come into the den, and I'd be watching TV, eating and his face would turn red. And this guy would scream at me. He said, you're never going to amount to anything, and your mouth's going to get you in trouble. Your mouth is going to get you in trouble. One day, your mouth is going to get you in big trouble. Anyway, I'm 50 years of age. Every day of my life, I heard that bastard saying, that mouth's going to get you in trouble one day. I'm in to see my psychoanalyst friend. He had been a Catholic priest, and he'd left the priesthood and became a father of 11. Beautiful man. He said, Rhett. I said, yeah, every day I hear that. Your mouth's going to get you. Is that the same mouth? Now, I don't mean this to sound arrogant, folks, but is that the same mouth that got you interviews with President Carter and President Ford and all these other people and blah, 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 Garth Brooks? And he said, or get you a beautiful home and gave you a good life. And it's like he took this pin, and it was like a black balloon, a dark, ominous balloon. And he took that little pin and went and popped it. Do you know I never heard that negative voice again in my life? Mm. He killed it in a second because I was carrying that voice back here, and it was bringing me down all those years, just like you. How many people are running around wounded by people that thought they could beat discipline into you? A discipline to me, and I think you'll like this, it was always a pejorative term. I thought discipline, I'm going to discipline you. So I grew up thinking the word discipline was a negative term, not realizing discipline is the way to success. It's the pathway to achievement and everything. Being disciplined with your emotions, being disciplined with your sweat, being disciplined with your activities, Not that I'm a great disciplined individual, but the more disciplined I get, it seems the more successful I become. And so it's not a bad term, but he sold it to me as a bad term, and you went through the same thing. This guy who was a German father who wasn't German. That's fun. You got to put that in a book, son. Did you put that in a book yet?
It's one of my books. It's definitely in there. But yeah, I did not know. Never knew what trauma meant until my sister pointed out that was a traumatic. He stunted my self-esteem from at such an early age that it was really trauma that I carried around and didn't know how to get past the trauma. Like I didn't have a balloon to pop or anything like that. But you know what? I think my sister telling me so gave me a little bit more confidence. I said, I don't know why you wait.
Wonderful. Isn't that wonderful? Now let's get back to you. What we're gonna do is right now. I want to go over the book we're talking about today. Then I want to talk about a couple of your other books, just a short little version about them. Now the book we're talking about today.
I'll be right.
Okay. The book we're talking, addiction logic. Okay, and that's how to use logic to escape addiction. Correct. So tell me succinctly. Let's say you're going to do a 1-minute ad on why people viewing this should go run out and order your book right away.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'll give you an example of one of the things that I tell other people that, what the book is about, and not along the lines of substances or smoking or alcohol or gambling. But let's just take something that a lot of people, you brought up overweightness before, right? Now, I know somebody, and one of the people I interviewed, talked about overweightness, and I said I started to use a little logic here, and the person was depressed, suffering from anxiety because she didn't like the way she looked. She looked in the mirror. She says, "Boy, I'm overweight. I don't look good." And so now she's depressed. So we go backwards. And by the way, I don't prescribe anything mental or physical. I don't prescribe pills, and I don't prescribe my knowledge. This is all this is. This is just my opinion, and this is my suggestion coming from me. So I don't want to confuse. Medical people are definitely necessary for a lot of what is covered in this book, but I don't provide that. But the thing is that this girl who has this she's depressed about the way she looks because she's overweight. I said, well, you know what? If you don't have a pituitary problem and you don't have a thyroid problem, which is something you would take medication for, then the chance of you being overweight is probably a combination of either eating too much and not exercising enough. I said, so you put those two together, but she's on a medication for anxiety and depression. Do you know what the first side effect is for any of those medications? Increased appetite.
No.
So she's taking a pill to make her get over the depression she has, which is making her eat more, and then she walks back in front of the mirror wondering why she's so overweight.
I never knew that.
Well, so this is my logical thinking. I derived all that from what she was telling me about her being overweight and not happy. And I said, well, what do you take any medicine? And she said, well, I take this. And I said, do you realize that this, you got to seek a medical professional? But I suggested to her, I said, you know how you get over this is you go talk to your medical practitioner. You see if there's any way to reduce the amount of dosage that you're taking that helps you deal with your anxiety and your depression. And at the same time, maybe go on a nice diet, go on a diet that's not so caloric, maybe not so so many carbs. And then, you know what, why don't you, employ an exercise, join a gym. And now what you're doing, instead of taking in 2,000 calories worth of food and only burning 1,000 by walking around the house and walking to your, to the water fountain or the coffee thing at work, why don't you walk? And that's what I do. I can eat everything Rhett, I eat too much, but my 5 to 6 miles a day and I walk, I live on the water with a path. And you know what? I break even every single day. I am not losing weight, but I am not gaining weight either. And so I don't have to take anything that settles my depression because I'm okay where I am right now. I don't need something that increases my appetite.
My best friend just died. He was 98, 2 years shy of 100. Still running his real estate firm that he started in his 70s. About my age. And he would walk 2 miles every day. Now, not the last 4 years, but up until that, he was walking 2 miles every day. And he actually said in his real estate firm, we couldn't understand it. I said, David, how come the clarity of your mind is sharper than a lot of 50-year-olds I know? And yet he would be 95, 96, 97. Matter of fact, last year at 97, he told me he had the best financial year of his entire life. And he used to own car dealerships. Mm-hmm. So this guy, by walking, it seemed to be the secret. The only thing is, I just find walking so boring,
You know what? You need to get one of my books and get it on audio tape.
Yeah.
That's what I do every single day. I listen to one of my books, and I listen to other people's books too, mind you. But I listen to mine. I'll rotate I have my Sales and Selling Yourself subtitles. If you can make someone laugh, they can be yours. And then I Didn't Ask to Be Me. And then my newest book, which is coming out, I have about 80% of it done. The only thing is I put it aside to focus on the marketing of this one. This is my newest book, but done by the same cover artist.
The proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Experiences in life and
Yeah. It's experiences in life are the only truths. The only truths are the experiences you experience or somebody experiences. Like I need to see this for myself to believe in it. So that's what the proof in the pudding, and that's about 80% done. But the cover was done by the same artist, and it's a crazy thing. I'll tell you this, and some of the people in the audience know, or if my friends are tuned in. All three of them, if they're tuned in, they'll know that I've talked about this before. That what I do is I have the cover made. I decide on the title, then I have the cover made. I pay my fee for the cover, and it's enough for whatever the amount is. Okay, but I pay for the cover, and that forces me, because I don't like to waste money. That forces me to write the book. Every cover has been designed before the book has ever been written.
that's a great idea.
That's the way. That's logical to me. I don't want to lose $1,000. There, I just blurted it out. I don't want to lose $1,000. It's too much for me to lose. So this motivates me to finish the darn book. And so
Most people will not pay $1,000 for a cover, and it's a lot. But I tell you what you have found the secret to your motivation. Now, I will say this though. I don't know why we're promoting this guy, but I will say this. Believe me, I've been doing this 32 years. As much as you know how good this guy is, so do I. I want to use this guy in the worst way, because I tell you what, I've seen so many. Look at all these top people that I have. They have people like that give them great. The covers sell the book, even with Debbie Maycomber. It's the cover. It's
of
the
course.
title. You come up with good titles too.
And the genius that I am, Rhett, is that when I went into Barnes and Noble and I changed the cover to I guess to make the people happy who didn't like my cover in the first place, that judged the book. I walked in there and I took pictures. I took a bunch of fan pictures of the nonfiction book section, and you know what color jumped out at me the most?
What?
Orange.
Now that's for nonfiction?
I went to the nonfiction book instead of looking at the fantasy books, looking at the mystery books, which are going to be wispy and very airy looking. I looked at nonfiction books, and if it didn't have the cover of the author on the cover, the color that jumped out at me in the whole spanning the whole nonfiction area of the Barnes and Noble bookstore, orange was the color that my eye was drawn to. That would have been the book I picked up off the shelf. That's why this book is orange.
Just in the past year, I hate myself when I don't take copious notes. I ran into a truth online, and they showed you all the names of all these very big, successful businesses. And I think it was either 3 words or it was something. It was very short, but all these major companies all had the same secret. They'd figured it out. And it's kind of like with your books, whatever this guy is doing. I think what you're talking about nonfiction. Now, I'm a nonfiction guy. Even the people who come on my show in 32 years, who I have greatest respect for those who write a novel, but it's based on historical fact. But I still just can't get into it. The first thing I read as a kid in 4th grade. I think the first book was on George Washington Carver. He was the black guy who talked to peanuts and was a genius.
Yeah, of course.
And so that birthed the biography thing, the autobiography or the biography, because people tell me if you think this is right. I'll tell you, I just figured this out while I'm listening to you, why your covers appeal to me, because it's black and white. It's like, it's not frivolous. I didn't ask to be me. Oh man, I didn't ask me to be me. Oh, I've got to see what's in here, you're to the point, and the people aren't looking for frivolity who are looking for nonfiction. We're not looking for pie in the sky. We're looking for truth. Truth's explained.
That's, it's funny. I have about 260 reviews on this new book right now in different areas with Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, and Amazon. And by the way, if it's 260, it's 258 5 stars and 2 4 stars. Every one of those reviews this is the best book I've ever written because it speaks to me in a language I can understand. Every one of them everything that what they focus on in their reviews are how easy the book is to read and how relatable and how genuine my delivery is. And I've had people that have read my book when I lived in Atlanta, by the way, that have heard me share in 12-step meetings that get my book, call me or write me and say, Rick, I know you're in Florida, but I can hear your voice as I'm reading your book. So that's big to me. I'm going to excuse myself for 1 second here. All right. I'll just be back in 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
It's a
Rhett,
beautiful
there.
morning. Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Hey.
this is Rhett, and we're talking to this fellow who wrote this book on overcoming addictions, and based on logic. And he has many books to his credit. He's Rick Breitweiser. Am I saying it right?
Breitweiser.
Sales and selling
Yep. Here's the two books. These are the hardcovers that are for my personal thing here. But you could see the same cover artist and very just concise to the point. And it kind of the titles grab you. They're catchy.
Let me ask you this. Now, because of your book on sales, I'm going to presume you've been sought after to probably speak at some conventions.
No, you know what? I hired two marketing companies, one of which is Barnes and Noble themselves. I've signed a contract last night again for additional marketing. Barnes and Noble is going to go to bat and try to get it on the shelves of their stores, which
Okay.
I've done book signings for Barnes and Noble for the last 4 years. One of the things I have to say, you can call this ego if you'd like, but the thing is that every author, and I'm very new at this. It would be nice if I make the shelves of Barnes and Noble, or if I make a New York Times bestseller list. That I could just be satisfied with that, even if it didn't do as well. But you know what? I'm determined.
Let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
So I have found, I've had people on my show who are great with facts and figures, but then I went to see them live and I didn't have the heart to tell them. It wasn't that great. And I realized why I think that, and I have no idea what you do, but I would say this, my first question to you would be, do you use the power of story when you're speaking to an audience? Because Jesus used story. And I've also realized this. First of all, you have to know that you're stupid. Secondly, this is for me. I have to know that I'm stupid and I have to know that I'm arrogant. Okay. All these years that I've been in front of audiences, do you know that I've never hired a speechwriter? Do you know that there are people that are speechwriters? I'm not. When are you going to listen, Rhett? You're not a speechwriter. Somebody can create a thing, and it can be a little 40-minute speech. They'll put the humor at the beginning. They know exactly what they're doing. The close, the little humor, say goodbye. I mean, there's secrets, just like there's secrets to everything. So humble yourself. I can't wait for the day when I will be able to hire a speechwriter because they know what they're doing. So I guess. If I, and I'm still afraid of audiences. I know that sounds crazy. I can talk to hundreds of thousands on the air, but I'm a little bit better than I used to be because of the program that you and I are in. So I can, because you know why? Because I've learned that honesty disarms. When you get up in front of an audience and all you, remember I told you I met Larry King? He said he went on the radio for the first time. And he went up, 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 up. And he finally said, folks, I'm so scared. I've never been on the radio before. They loved him for it. And then after that, he let it out. It was smooth sailing and he becomes this, famous talker. People love sincerity, and it disarms people because then they go, oh, this guy's like me too. Okay. Now you've got him pulled in. And then using the power of story. So I wonder, do you use the power of story or situations that aren't,
All the time. You know what? Listen, people have liked me as a salesman. People have liked me in the program because my stories are real stories. They're not made up stories. I want people to see, I want people to like me for me. I've spoken in front of hundreds of people. It's not something I will tell you this though, Rhett, I've never been on the radio in my life. This is the first conversation I've ever had with anybody on the radio in my entire life, and I appreciate the opportunity. But you know what? You've made me feel comfortable where I had more fear. They call it fear in the business. I call it undue anxiety. I had so much so much running through my head. I even told people that I ran the interview every single night. Once I knew I was going to be on the show, I played your part and my part in bed every single night. And I didn't even have the questions. And I even asked your producer, what is he going to ask me? And he goes, he likes to go with the flow. And here I am. I have not had one. There's not any trepidation going forward. I feel totally comfortable where I'm kind of glad you didn't give me questions. I'm glad that it's going this way because maybe I wouldn't do as well, but I'm totally at ease right here.
Well, I take that as a great compliment. And also, I thought we might do a half an hour and maybe we might do an hour. We've already done an hour and a half and we may go all the way up into noon because we're doing, I want to say this about Joe Rogan. And this is, see, everything's always morphing. We're always morphing. So Joe Rogan, when I first heard him, I didn't like him because every 17 seconds, he says a swear word, F-U-C. Or SHI. It's unnecessary. So I sent him a lot of emails and text messages and people that work with him. And I think he may have heard something that may have gotten through to him because it's not necessary. He's at a level now where he's at the top of his, it's not necessary. But anyway, what Joe Rogan has done that's great. And if I ever get to meet him, I'm going to say, I was on the air 30 years, but maybe 28 years when he started. And then the talk, he'd already been a comedian, but he got into this thing. And he's more successful, a million times more successful than me as far as an audience. But what he did was, he did it with Trump. For instance, what he did was, you come on and you go, hey, how you doing? I have you on. This is years. Remember, I was on regular radio every morning. Hey, it's the morning show. Blah, 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 blah. How you doing, Rick? What are you doing? What's the name? Oh, I'm sorry. We got to go. We got our next guest. Okay, you, Rick, out. Billy Bob in. Then we got Sue coming in. It's like all this stuff. Whereas this guy Rogan takes one person like Trump and there's no sound bites. And you're watching Trump breathe. You're watching his humanity. You're watching them have conversation like we're having today. It breathes. You no longer go that's what's great about these podcasting is because I know you may not like this and a lot of people don't, but I happen to like Oprah. We're the exact same age too. So I would rush home after doing my show every day, have lunch, and at 3:00 in the afternoon, I'd watch Oprah. I love her heart. I hope I get to meet her someday. I love her heart. And so all of a sudden, just like when I watch the World Series, I still like to watch the World Series and I want it live because I want to know the rest of the world is watching with me. But I used to only be able to watch the news at 6:00 at night. Then I started recording the news, right? And I'd get home at midnight. I could watch the news. I could watch Oprah 2:00 in the morning, anytime I wanted to. Now it's called on demand. Like we're going to put this thing will go on my podcast. Doolin will edit it. And it'll get on the podcast. Now, like I interviewed Mike Tyson. I don't know, was that 18, 20 years ago? But the young guy that I used to have working with me says, it doesn't matter about it. I said, well, I mentioned Christmas. He says, my generation doesn't care. The valid information's still on it. So it becomes a library. A library. You see, and that's what you need to do with your books is you need to create an audio library. Now, if you can't do it on your own, I could interview you, whatever it's going to take. But they'll go and go, oh, I want to hear about selling technique number 5. And they'll go and there'll be a little half-hour show with you about. And so it's a library. Like somebody might hear about your book here today. It might be 7 years from now. And they're looking at your website and see that we do an interview. They go to my podcast, find your name, and now they're listening to it. Because the same truths that you've uncovered, like for instance, in selling, are going to be just as valid. There may be some alterations, but basically people don't change. Basically people are the same. And the truth is, okay, I would like to ask you this. I always thought about, I told this young man that was working for me, I said, when you grow up as a salesman, you grow up the day that somebody comes to me and says, hey, Rhett, I want to advertise, I want to reach older people that need an eye doctor. Perfect. I'm perfect for you. But somebody else comes up to me and says, I want to reach 16-year-olds that have purple in their hair. And this actually happened years ago. And even though I know some of the high school kids would say, hey, I secretly listen to you when I'm in school. I said, well, you shouldn't really do that. But anyway, I would say, don't buy advertising from me because I'm not your market. The day that I turned down my first, I could have taken somebody's money and without righteously doing it and said, no, I think you should go over here and advertise over here. That's your market. But if you find somebody right for me, would you send them my way? I made a friend. I still succeeded. And wouldn't you say the first day, because I can tell that about you. I'll guarantee you when you're with people, I can just see you do the same thing I did. Now how you trust me, I could see you. I absolutely could see you. I know that you would go, Mr. Palmer, it's great talking to you. Well, let's go ahead and have dinner sometime. But this product that I have for your jet is not the proper product. I might be able to send you over this guy and he'll be able to help you. And am I right?
I have done that since day one as a salesman selling parts for Gulfstream jets. There's a time that in the beginning, I did not have everything that people needed. First of all, the whole premise of my book is getting that the book on sales is to get you to like me, to become my friend first. You be my friend, and even if I don't sell you anything ever, I picked up a friend. So the thing is that in the beginning, when I couldn't supply, say a cabin pressure transducer for your Gulfstream because it was way out of my league at the time in the beginning, when I started with nothing, I would say, hey, listen, I want, you can get this from this other vendor who I know has it. But you know what I do sell is I do sell filters for your engine. I do sell oil. I do sell your igniters. I do sell things like consumables, and from that, people started to like my salesmanship rather than my product line because they wanted to deal with me. And so they bought all the oil, they bought the igniters, they bought they bought the silly things, consumables from me. And you know what? After a while, when I started my own company, when I left somebody else and I started my own company, Revlon and Philip Morris, the first week I started, they loved dealing with me so much. They gave me a $100,000 order each on their letterhead, which I took to the bank, who gave me a credit line to fill that order, where I made, say, $25,000 on each order. And that was like the start of it, is that they remembered when I led them to getting what they needed, because that's the bottom line. They need what they need. They don't care. They would rather go to their favorite vendor. But the thing is, the bottom line is, if their Gulfstream doesn't fly and Henry Kravis has to wait for another plane to show up to take him, you know what? That guy's going to lose his job. This is the way it goes. You know what I mean? Henry Kravis will never know, and I've met him before. But a great gentleman. But the thing is that somebody that wealthy is not going to take your car is broken, your plane is broken today. They get paid enough to make sure that their plane works. So to go somewhere else and get the part, you know what? I basically bailed them out. Even if I didn't sell them the part, I bailed them out. And they remembered that. And that's the way I've worked my whole life, is that, you know what? I may not be everybody's favorite, but I will do the honest, right way of, I will treat them with respect.
Yeah. And, when you honor others, I'm writing a book right now on dignity, because I think dignity is lacking in our society. I have found out that when I give, the moment that I give, we're going into the post office, and I'm a younger guy, and I hold the door for some older man. And he goes, wow, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Oh, boy, I felt really good about me. Now I let him in ahead of me, and now he's going to be in front of me in line, maybe with his walker or just a regular guy, but whatever. And so I've taken a lower position, but I'm sitting there feeling really good that I honored this man. The moment that I honor, even if he didn't say thank you, it doesn't matter. The moment that I honor you, I honor myself. It's kind of like even Jesus said, give to those who can't repay you. When I lived in Troy, New York for years, I lived in the ghetto as a struggling songwriter. I lived in a $150 a month apartment. And then I ended up, you'd like this as a salesman. I ended up with a brand new, I'm living in the ghetto, but I had a brand new cabin cruiser, which I got for free ownership because I told this guy I would handle his advertising in exchange for a boat. So now the point is, what was I going to say? I got off on that. But what I did was I negotiated for the boat. What was the point I was going to make? I got off on it. I have to watch out. Sometimes when I get off my little ego trips, which, I'm very proud of the fact that that happened. And I find it extraordinary that I was living in the ghetto. But what were we just talking about? I was going to connect me to to go back just
your book on dignity. Your book on dignity you're writing. You're writing a book on dignity.
Yeah. And
it's lacking in America. You said dignity is lacking.
Yeah, when you honor somebody else, you immediately look what happened. Here's what happened in New York City a couple of months ago. And this is going in my book. This guy opens the door for a guy on a bicycle in New York City and lets him into the store. It's a little general store. And then the guy walks in and the bicyclist doesn't say anything. And the other guy goes, "Hey, I just held open the door for you." Yeah. Well, you didn't say thank you. And the other guy goes, "Well, I didn't ask you to." He was expecting something back. He follows the guy around in the store, harassing him. So the bicyclist finally goes, "I was going to get on the bicycle," and the guy's in his face. "You need to thank me. I held the door for you." The bicyclist, finally takes out a knife. This is a true story, and plunges it into his heart. And he killed him. The guy who opened the door should not have expected anything in return. You don't give to get, And now here's another story of dignity. This man, this is a true story too. It's going in my book. It happened about 1.5 years ago now. When I lived in Troy, New York, right before I left, there was a man who was a lawyer in town. And he was 61 years of age, which was old back then to me. Now I'm 71 myself. But anyway, 61. Well, he went down to the Green Island Bridge. And he put rocks in his pockets and jumped off and committed suicide. I always remembered that for some reason. I don't know why. So years later, about 1 year ago, my friend David Usher says, "Hey, there was this guy that I just met. He'd gone down to the Green Island Bridge. He was going to commit suicide. He said, he made a covenant with God. He says, I won't do it if somebody speaks to me. Somebody talks to me, somebody just says some kindness." Nobody said anything. He gets on the bridge. He's about to commit suicide. And some old guy, with a cane comes walking by and starts talking to him and validated him being in the family of humanity. So the guy didn't commit suicide. The old guy will never know that he gave honor and dignity to that man. So we never know who we're helping. I remember I was in Dunkin' Donuts a few years ago, and I was in a rush. So I'm in the line. But over here, they sold the ice cream. So this lady was here, and she was going to, because she already got the ice cream, and I was next to go, she was going to get to go, and it was going to keep me from being late. I said, "Hey, today I'm paying it forward. I'm going to pay for your ice cream." Oh, and she was in, those very simple but very expensive dresses. And then she got into a prestige vehicle. But I noticed her gait changed, her attitude changed, and suddenly I realized it doesn't matter that she's rich. I honored her. People can be rich and be very poor inside. They can be sad. They can be on the brink of suicide. Everybody needs a little dignity. And this was inspired by Bob Dylan's song on dignity. And so I've really kind of got the book, I've got it almost done, It's just these little vignettes. But how you can really feel good about yourself by giving others dignity, and it's fun. It's fun. So here's what I wanted to tell you that I wanted to do. I haven't been able to do it. So I was going to tell you, that's what about the boat. Because back then when I had this big cabin cruiser, I couldn't afford to go I was on Lake George, New York. I couldn't afford to go to the fancy schmancy restaurants. So the night would fall, you rent a place on an island and all these other boaters are there and they're having fires and everything. Then all of a sudden say, "Well, we're going to go into town." And they'd go in the dark, riding in their big cabin cruisers to this fancy restaurant. You get steak and lobster and stuff. all the time I was there, I could never afford to go. So I moved down to Florida, and then things happened, and obviously I prospered. And then I was the guy buying everybody dinners for the next 20 years. And because people had bought me dinners later on in life, I bought them dinners. So it really felt good. And so now what I'd like to do someday is, now I've had the white linen dinners. I like white linen. I like a candle. I like a gentle, quiet place. Maybe they have a pianist, or they're playing a cello or violin or viola. I don't want the ruckus. I find that people that need a lot of noise on the outside of them is because they have a lot of noise inside. But the more peace you have inside, the more peace you want on the outside. But anyway, I would like to find poor folks that have never had a white linen dinner. And I'd like to bring them to a place where I would serve them and have the honor. Find a professional chef, but I want to bring out, maybe some poor Black folks or some Hispanic folks or singles moms that are struggling, that never maybe had a chance to have a white linen dinner. Because Jesus also said, he said, give to those who cannot repay you, and you'll get your reward on the day of the resurrection. And not that I'm doing it for that, but it's good to give to those who can't repay you. It's you do something good, then I'm going to walk around the rest of the way going, I was in Vero Beach. This is about a year and a half ago. And I forgot there was construction in this one area. So I came out, and it was a busy day. I didn't realize I was in a tender mood, sensitive. I went, oh my God, I'm never going to get out in this traffic of this construction. And just then, this guy with this old rickety pickup truck, he starts blinking his bright lights at me, letting me out. I almost started crying, because it was at that moment to have somebody validate me and go, you count too, come on out. It was so tender and so nice. And he'll never know. But so you never know how you're helping somebody out. Mm. And what I want to try to sell in this book is the power. I want power. Because, I know Rick Breitweiser. He's an author. I got power. I'm friends with the president of the United States. I have power. I'm friends with this billionaire or millionaire. I got power. I have prestige. I have position. I have title. I have a vehicle. I have a mansion. Everybody listening to this broadcast right now, you already have all the power you need. You have the power to give others dignity. And I'll end it with this story. This lady walked by me, how this all started a few years ago. She walked by me and didn't say hi to me. She looked like a homeless lady. And I said, why didn't she smile at me or be nice? I said, Rhett, she doesn't think she has anything to give you. She doesn't know that she has the power of a smile. And so even if you're homeless, even if you're dirt poor, you still have the power. You don't know, you might save a life of a billionaire walking by you who's on his way to commit suicide like that other guy. You never know. We all have the power to give each other dignity. So if you have self-worth, then you realize, I don't have to worry about Rhett. I want to give you power. I want you to feel good. Mm. It's like this interview. This is our first interview. Now, I've talked a little bit far too much today, but that's okay, because it helped break down your walls. You feel comfortable. I tell you what, you're gonna go over this interview in your head, and you're gonna come back, and you're gonna have learned some stuff. And probably next time, you probably might give me a list of questions, and then I'll shut up a lot more than I have today, and I'll honor you. I hope.
You know what? It's your gig, and I am just privileged to be on it and say, listen, you can say that you had me on my first time ever on the radio, which I could tell you, I shopped my book around when I first got my first book out, and I went to probably 20 people, 20 editors, and I asked them if they'd do my book, and the title sounded great. I didn't ask to be me. And you know what every one of them said? How many books do you have out? And I said, it's my first book. And everyone said, oh, God, we're so busy, or we wish you a lot of luck and all that. And you know what? After somebody took it, somebody somebody said, somebody in New York and London said, just send me your introduction. And I sent it to them, and they said, you have extraordinary writing skills, but you lack flow and connectivity. We can help you. And that company stayed with me for my first two books, and they were both bestsellers in 2 months. Both books were. This book was a bestseller, and my salesmen were immediate bestsellers in 2 months. And I've got nothing less than a 5-star on all my reviews.
What does flow and connectivity mean?
Flow and connectivity means whether it's the chapter to whether it's the paragraph to paragraph, connecting paragraphs so they flow nicely, or jumping from chapter to chapter. It's supposed to, if you want the book to flow from start to finish, you have to make sure that the chapters connect. Like, I can't talk about, like in this book, what I did, Rhett, again, the genius that I am, is that I laid all these chapters all over the floor, and I said, I know I talk like that, but I'm but anyway, so the thing is that I laid all the chapters in their piles on the floor, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go with cravings. I'm going to go with caffeine to chocolate, to sugar, to eating disorders, to body dysmorphia, then to tattooing, which is body dysmorphic. It's a tattooing is part of body dysmorphia. To working out with the body, to sex addiction, to pornography, to adrenaline. All those things, I shuffled them around like a game on my living room floor so that you could go from cake to sugar, from coffee to cake, from sugar to overweightness. So everything flowed. And then I knew that I had the right connectivity between the chapters. But when you have we'll talk if you'd like to know about, developmental stage editing, and then copy editing and line editing, and then proofreading, and then spell check and grammar. It's a formula. It's a formula to go through all that. And by the time you're done with the proofreading and the grammar and all that, you should have something that flows. And that's what you want. In other words, the reader is not going to, you'll lose the reader. It will not stay, the reader won't stay engaged unless it's flowing into the next chapter. And by design, every one of my chapters are a page to a page and a half. So you can read and close, or you can say,
hold on. That's very good. Because Patterson makes, I think he makes, I don't know, he's a billionaire. He makes, I think, $64 million a year. But if you pick up a James Patterson book, the chapters are never over 3 pages. But yet all these other people go on and ignore. It's like Steven Spielberg. He said he made a movie once and it was a slow beginning. He said, no, at the beginning of the movie, you have to have the guys are being chased by the police or something exciting going on. And yet, a lack of humility on the part of the directors in Hollywood never followed suit to what Spielberg plainly stated, his secret. And they still don't do it. And it's, go ahead. That's by my design, for me having to go through. I'm not a good reader, but when we do book readings, and they'll say, okay, we're going to read, like they read 12 pages or 18 pages. And they'll say, okay, let's talk about what we just read. And I said, well, I forgot the first 16 things that we were discussed. So all I can talk about, with the recency effect, all I can talk about is the last thing we talked about. But my chapters are chapter 1, page 3, chapter 2, page 5, chapter 3, page 8. Every chapter is 1 to 2 pages, so you can either put it down and absorb what you just read, or say, you know what, this is interesting, I'm going to do another. I'm going to do another. Before you know, you just read 20 chapters. Yep. Don't waste people's time. Make it succinct, concise, and clear, and get to your point. And people don't have time for long chapters in this day and age. I mean, I suppose if you have a novel, then that's a whole different thing, because you're getting involved with the characters and everything, and you get pulled and suckered in. With nonfiction, tell me what you have to tell me.
These are self-help books. These are also self-help books considered,
I tell that to preachers. I have a preacher friend, and I told him, I said, if you watch the Billy Graham, which are available on YouTube now, this is the greatest orator of all time. How arrogant you speak over 30 minutes. The greatest orator of our age was Billy Graham. He never spoke over, generally it was about 20 minutes. It might go as long as, I think I caught him at 29 minutes once. But he had the humility, because I had a preacher friend of mine recently, and I'm listening to him the first 15 minutes. I'm going, oh, that's great. But then he went on. And by the time he went on, I forgot what he said at the beginning that interested me, that I wanted to talk to him about afterwards. But I also too much information, and I forgot what he said at the end, and he wasted my time in church that day. The greatest orators. Do you know this one about Winston Churchill? Okay, now Winston Churchill's at the top of his success. He's invited to speak at I think it was one of the famous, very famous college universities in England. Anyway,
Oxford.
he gets up. Huh?
Oxford?
Yes. And so he's there, and it's time for him to speak. Now, hey, I'm Rhett Palmer. This is my first time in front of all these kids, and it's my moment to glory in my glory of my success and tell them what they should do. And when he sacrifices it, he gets up and he says, don't quit, don't quit, don't quit, do not quit, and sat down. Instead of taking the moment for his self-glory, now guess what? He's dead. What am I talking about? I'm talking about his speech about not quitting. It's a great message to the young people.
Yep.
He sacrificed the moment of ego and gave something you can walk away with. Abraham Lincoln came up to Gettysburg, and he walked there, by the way. He got off the train, walked by himself, actually, back then. And this guy before him had spoken for 1 hour. Oh, everybody's yawning. Oh, my God. He goes on. So Lincoln gets up there and speaks for 1.5 minutes. It's a short little speech. This speech will not be long remembered, but blah, 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 20 years ago, whatever. Anyway, so the thing is, after he was done, the guy who had spoke for an hour said, oh, my word, that man said what I tried to say in an hour, he said in 1.5 minutes. And it's quoted around the world. He made history. We don't even know the name of the guy who spoke for an hour. So the idea that your chapters are 2 or 3 pages, that's what Patterson does. His book, I can count on it. That, like, I read the nonfiction on Epstein. He did the one on Epstein. It just keeps you turning page to page, because every chapter is only 2 or 3 pages. You're just like, wow. And you feel like you're the accomplishment. When you do a chapter, you feel accomplishment. Now, next chapter, oh boy. And it grabs you in. And just, the guy's a genius. And so I can't wait. I have not read one. You haven't sent me any of your books yet. Oh, yes, you did.
It'll be there tomorrow. I tracked it last night. But I really appreciate this. This has been, what I usually say, and I've spoken in front of, one time I spoke in front of 400 people, and I always have the same prayer I say right before I get on stage. And I've used to speak in front of high schools on business, and so I have just a little bit of idea what's to expect, And I always say, dear God, my God, please don't let me bomb or get booed off stage, and if I do, help me to be better next time. I say that every single time I have to go before any group of people. And you know what? I spoke in front of like 400 people, and I brought a girl guest with me. She's a psychologist, and she sat and listened to me. And when I came off stage, she barely knew me. She goes, my God, Rick, I had no idea you were that good. You could probably get 10 or 20,000 a night for what you do. But anyway, all I did is just speak. I mean,
Then say that prayer again.
Dear God, my God, please don't let me bomb or get booed off stage. And if I do, help me to be better next time.
It's a surrender, and it's humble. And how can God resist but help you?
Yeah, no, I love it. I don't know if it's in any book, but you know what? I'm not done writing yet either, Rhett.
Nope.
Listen,
I want you to hold up your new book to the camera.
Oh yeah, all right. And if it's okay, I just want to say that to the group out there listening, that this book, You know what? It's not just for addicts. It's not for people that are obsessed with things. It's habit, it's passion, it's regimen, it's routine. It's about things that what we all have. Everybody, people collect things. And it doesn't mean just because they collect it, they're obsessed with it. It means that maybe it gives them joy. Maybe it's just passion for them. So the book covers all different levels of engagement with whatever the thing is, whether we're talking about whether it's a job, whether it's a product, whether it's whatever the heck it is. And I wanted to just leave with a story that's really short. Is that I told you that I interviewed like 50 people and I picked 25 stories in there. And in that, there's two people were video gamers, which is a big thing today, right? All the people that play video, you don't even have to be a kid anymore. I know adults that play video games. And one of the people that I interviewed was a guy close to my age. And, and he said that, I said, so how often do you play? He says, I play 6 hours a day, every day of the week. And I said, oh my God, you're so addicted. He goes, I'm not addicted. And he said, I said, so, well, what do you have a job? And he says, of course I have a job. I said, well, when do you play? He says, well, I come home, I change, I get comfortable, I get something to eat, and I play for 6 hours in front of my game unit. And I said, well, geez, you seem like obsessed or something. And he goes, no, I'm not obsessed. And I said, well, what happens if somebody calls? What happens if you have an emergency? What do you do? He said, I put the gamer down, the controller, and I go. I said, can we agree on something? Can you just tell me that you're really highly passionate about this? He goes, we'll agree to that. He says, but the truth of the matter is I just like shooting things. So and I told him, well, you know what? You stay in your living room and you keep shooting in your living room.
All right, now show them your other books too.
Yeah. Okay. So I got the Addiction Logic, which just came out, and that one is I've sold hundreds in the first 2 months. Came out May 4th. This one came out 2 years ago. Sales and Selling Yourself, and that's about you being the product before any product even comes into the equation. And it's really funny. The subtitle is, if you can make someone laugh, they can be yours. It's about making people, I always say that a smile is half a laugh. And if you could make somebody smile, you could just made two people happy. So the thing is, the book is about ways to make people like your happy way. And then the last book is my first book, which came out 4 years ago, called I Didn't Ask to Be Me. And that one is basically, like I said, you know what? I didn't ask for anything anything you see before you. Anything you see before you, I am only what was delivered. That's it. And it talks about, there's 3 sections in it: psychological, spiritual, and sober. So it talks about me becoming spiritual and me living a life of sobriety. So there's 3 sections in the book, all short chapters.
And for those that are listening on the podcast in the future, it's Rick, R-I-C-K. Last name is B-R-E-I-T-W-E-I-S-E-R. Rick, B-R-E-I-T-W-E-I-S-E-R. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Breitweiser. And I always tell people, Breitweiser like the beer.
Okay, so listen. Well, this has been a good introduction for both of us. It was obviously very fluid. We did 2 hours. And it flew by for me and you too. We had a good time. And so I know you're going to digest this, and we'll go onward and upward from here and have some more fun together in the future.
Well, thanks for having me. Thank you for making me feel comfortable, because this was it went as smoothly as it could have.
Well, I'm very honored because, I remember when I did, who was the black guy that was running for, the doctor that was running for the U.S. presidency?
Colin Powell?
Ben Carson. Well, his wife wrote a book when he was running and came to a local bookstore, and I came out and I interviewed her, and she said, this was my first radio interview, just like you. And I said, that's really cool, because you know what? She'll never forget me. And now how can you forget me? I was the first. So you gave me dignity by allowing me to be the first person to initiate you into radio land,
So I guess I'm the one buying the dinner, huh?
Not necessary, thank God. But yeah, we'll meet up. Now, where do you live in Florida?
I live in Rocky Point, which is it's like in the southern part of Tampa. I am down by the Courtney Campbell Causeway to go to Clearwater, right there on the water.
My niece and nephew just moved from where'd they move from? Portland, Oregon, and their two boys, Eli and Jonah, now live in St. Pete. And because they were there, my other nephew with his wife moved from Connecticut, and he's there now too. So I have excuse for recently going that direction. So when I come over there, we definitely got to go. I used to like Burns, but ever since the old man died, I don't know if it's as good a steakhouse as it used to be. But
yeah, I drive past it a lot. I see Burns Steakhouse, but you know what? I do go to St. Pete every Monday night, and I go to Clearwater every Sunday night. Meetings I go to.
Well, we'll go together.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got 10 years, I hear.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
God bless you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, I'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks for having me.
You too. Bye.